And we are live. I'm Two Turtle Tom, and welcome to the Two Turtle Tom live show. The show where we talk about turtles and everything about turtles, and especially their care. We do this every Thursday night at 8 p.m., and we do it for you. We want to learn more about keeping turtles and tortoises in a ex situ conservation setting. That means in our homes, in our zoos, in our institutions. And tonight we have Matthew once again. Matthew, how are
Hey
you?
guys, I'm excellent. It's been an eventful week. I shared the box turtle. I think Phil, I'm not sure I sent it to you yet. Yeah, some pretty cool stuff. I'll share later.
And tonight our guest is Phil Simpson, a regular member of the chat each Thursday night at 8 p.m. Phil decided to join us tonight. Thank you so much, Phil. And Aaron Johnson had to cancel because he was having some internet issues. So thank you for pinch hitting, Phil, and welcome to the show.
I'm filling in.
Yeah, I bet you hear that one quite a bit. Just like my last name's Arbor, and I work at an arboretum.
It's perfect.
Yeah, or Steve Rad, breeding radiated tortoises.
Oh, wow! I didn't.
Come on, that couldn't get any better.
So we love the people in the chat, and we're going to go to the chat and just say hi to everybody. So if you are here, if you're watching, please say hi. We'll shout you out. So tonight we have Steven Cifuentes as our first commenter. He wins the competition. And Matthew said, Matthew, yeah, you confirmed that he was. So Podrick is here. Dragon Lair. He said he was going to wash. He's changing his meal pattern because of the show. Thank you, Patrick. And that sounds like some pretty good Southern.
Oh yeah, milk gravy with your country fried steak,
that's right.
And smashed taters. That's
Dawson
right up my
is
alley.
Here. Mm-hmm. Yep, Dawson. Lawler.
What's up, Dawson?
And Mike Hasselbring from Hawaii is
Hey, Mike.
here.
Aloha.
And I was chatting with Mike a little bit earlier, so thanks for joining us. Patrick Lee is here. Thank you, Patrick. Sam Schulman. Welcome, Sam. Hawaii herpetological.
I have one of your T-shirts.
Two Hawaii people.
Yeah,
like that's awesome. Coming out, all of these West Coast people. Like I don't even know what time it is in Hawaii. So,
6 hours
Mike
behind.
Chan from CNC Tortoises up in Vancouver Island is with us.
Sebastian
Orozco is here. Mikey Ben's from Canada. Hurst Reptiles, Seth Hurst. Seth, we're going to be in touch about some enclosures. Michael Fadhuvaswamy has joined us, a.k.a. Michael Rajkumar. Please do tell us what that name means, Michael. We know that is not your last name, but I've always wondered what that means. So, Hardshell Herps, Wes Coleman. Bill Strand is with us tonight, everyone. Bill Strand, Chameleon Academy. And Bill, sometime we'd love to have you on for an Out of the Shell episode to talk chameleons now that I'm a chameleon guy. So, Extreme is with us, KMS Reptiles, and that's it. So let's get rid of Podricks.
Hardshell Herps. Who's that? It's an awesome name.
I don't know their name, but do tell. And I think they joined us last week. So
excellent name.
That is,
of course, Prince Michael. Fitting, very fitting.
Interesting. Oh, that's great. So, well, Phil, thanks for joining us. You've watched for almost since we started. I think probably since we started, and we're really happy to have you here. Why turtles and tortoises, Phil? What got you into them? Why do you keep them?
That started early.
Close to us.
I grew up in Oklahoma on on we had a small cattle ranch. And
Oh, cool.
had a few ponds there on the ranch, and lots of turtles. Always seeing turtles. You go fishing, the turtles are poking up, looking at you. You leave your stringer of fish in the pond, and they eat it.
Yeah.
I learned that at a young age.
Wow. What
Lots.
species?
I'm
there.
not sure, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what species of the water turtles were out there.
Yeah.
I haven't lived out there since I was, I don't know, 10, 11 years old, probably.
And fast
Lots of-
forward to now, you're on the East Coast.
Now I'm on the East Coast, and with those water turtles, man, we used to find them. We would like till up a garden, and you'd find these hatchlings that had overwintered,
Yeah.
and
That's
so
cool.
we'd pick them up, take them home. Didn't know what we were doing, had no clue. Plop them down in a goldfish bowl with a rock and feed them fish food flakes. So they didn't last long. And then one year we found a three-toed box turtle hatchling in the garden, and
Wow.
we
Was it-
recognized. My mom actually was the one who recognized. She's like, "That's not a water turtle." And so we ended up. We had this really old tractor tire, like the back
Oh, yeah.
tires on a tractor. They're huge.
Giant one.
Mm-hmm.
And so we laid that thing down on the ground and put the little three-toed box turtle in there, and man, that thing was in there for years and years. One year it just disappeared, and I'm like, it could have been a predator. It could have also been my mom was like,
Yeah, I was gonna.
we need to let this thing go. And that got me started on box turtles.
Mm.
Yeah, so then the box turtle craze took hold, and from then, it was from three-toads to eastern woodland box turtles, because it's like, wow, these are some really cool looking turtles. Look at these colors and patterns.
Yeah.
Then from then, I started learning more and more about, the species, terrapene, and next thing you know, I've got Florida box turtles and ornate box turtles and desert box turtles and
Yeah.
Gulf Coast, and it just took on a life of its own.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really kind of where it started.
Yeah.
Ludiola are one of my favorites. Their
Yeah,
personality's just crazy.
they're really cool. I've got a big group that I'm dealing with right now. I've got about
That's
16,
awesome.
16 or 17.
Nice. That's really
And,
cool.
Just got one recently. I think Tom, I sent you a picture of it that you used for your advertisement.
Yeah.
It was a male that I got. A gentleman on the West Coast had passed away, and his collection of reptiles, it wasn't just turtles, it was all kinds of stuff.
Oh, really?
His collection got dispersed and went through several hands and ended up with the TTPG. And Cameron hit me up and he's like, "Hey man, are you still working with deserts?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got a big group." He's like, "I got a really nice looking male for you if you want it." And so it was really cool. I got a nice, really cool yellowhead desert box turtle male for the price of shipping.
And of course, that's through the Colonian Propagation Program. Is that the name?
That's it. Good job, Tom. I was trying to think if I couldn't remember the name.
We say CP
CPP.
or CCP, the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah.
I gotta correct myself. No,
CCP.
PP.
Yeah. That certainly dates us.
Mark De Silva always says it needs a vowel. Something the TTPG doesn't have a vowel. CPP doesn't have a vowel. It'd be nice if it had a vowel. So, Michael, think about it.
Get some vowels, Michael. Oh, that's funny. So, do people know you as a box turtle person, and kind of locally? Do you work with box turtles? Do you do any rehabbing or anything like that?
I don't do any rehabbing. I do work with the Mid-Atlantic Turtle and Tortoise Society, and I'll pick up any kind of turtle, but seems like most often I'm picking up box turtles, and they go into our adoptions program, and we try to adopt them out in the state that they're found. A couple of years, it's been 3 or 4 years ago, we got a call from a school. It was elementary school. Yeah, it's an elementary school, and they had a big courtyard in the middle of the school, and they started a teacher, biology teacher there, started with 2 turtles, 2 eastern box turtles. And when a few years later they got a new principal, and he wasn't comfortable, having these turtles and with all these young kids, and I went by to pick them up, and they had 16.
Wow.
So they went from 2 to 16 in this courtyard, because the male and the female that were the original 2, they just took off, and they had this big courtyard to roam around and eat bugs and worms, and they reproduced, and so it was kind of fun going by and picking up all those. And they went into our the Matt's adoption program, and we found homes for all of them.
That's awesome. Stephen is wondering if you remember who that guy was on the West Coast that you were just talking about. I don't know if we want to name any names or anything, but maybe we could do that offline. But
yeah, no, I actually never did get the name. I asked who it was, and the answer that I got was that the turtles had passed through so many hands at that point that the people in possession didn't know who the guy was. So
yeah. Sam is wondering, how are the isopods doing?
Oh, Sam, how you doing? Thanks for the isopods. Yeah, Sam sent me, what was it? 4 or 5 different species of isopods. They're doing fantastic. I check on them all the time, and they seem to be thriving. What was the species? It's got a Japanese name, Ishikara. I can't remember what it was, but they're actually reproducing. I've got a lot of young isopods in that container.
I have to thank Sam as well. He sent me some, but he also sent me some cool little placards. He didn't tell me he was going to send them, but little placards for a couple species that I've got. They're really cool.
Sweet. And Hardshell Herp says his name is Trevor Cook. He's the rhino.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I recognize Trevor Cook's name.
Yeah.
Trevor,
we've been talking about Man-Eye.
Cameron Lamb is with us, everyone, and he has chimed in, and he said the person's name is anonymous.
Anonymous.
And Sam says Shiro Utsuri.
That's it, Shiro Utsuri.
For those things. So tell us more about the Mid-Atlantic Turtle and Tortoise Society. I recently adopted a tortoise through Katrina Smith, right? And I mean, it was an amazing opportunity, and I added a new male to my Hingeback breeding program. So obviously, this is a group that has a great website. They have an adoption program. How does that all work, and how does that group kind of stick together and be an effective nonprofit organization?
Honestly, I'm a bit of a newbie. I've been in the group. I've been in the group for I guess about 7 years now.
Yeah, and you're a newbie.
And that's I'm a newbie. Yeah,
it's got history.
Yeah, they've been together. This core group have been together for I don't know, 15, 20 years. We still have some of the founding members on the board. And
did you know Sandy Barnett?
Yes, I know Sandy.
Yeah, I love Sandy.
She was our on the board, and she was a past president.
Yep.
And she moved out west.
Yeah. Albuquerque.
Okay
for her, I guess. It gets cold up there.
And what are adoption and a pretty extensive adoption program, and the society is also willing to ship animals throughout the country, which is somewhat unique. I think. Any insight onto that program, or kind of why they went that way with such a very generous shipping to anyone, really?
Well, I have to give all credit to our adoptions program, to Katrina Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, she really is the heartbeat of that.
Yeah, she's a rock star.
Susan Mooring says founded in the late 90s.
Late 90s. Oh, hi, Susan.
Thanks for joining us.
Susan's part of it.
And then
awesome.
what's it like to be a member in the group?
Yeah.
Are there meetings? What kind of benefits are there?
There are meetings. We meet. Susan, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's either 4 or 5 times a year. There's typically 4 meetings with a speaker who will talk about anything from turtle medicine or turtle conservation. We have a lot of speakers that will come in and talk about, like we had one presentation about bog turtles. We had a gentleman who was doing conservation work on those, and he also is, I don't remember what the word is. He makes films, documentaries. And so he made a documentary about the bog turtle and kind of their background, their history, their environment, and how those bogs that they come up in are not just your average wetland, you know. So we get a lot of good meeting speakers, and we also have an annual picnic where we all get together, you know, on a day in the fall and have a picnic and talk about turtles. Usually have a nature walk or something to go on, you know, something to do rather than just hang out and eat. And it usually somewhere around the end of December or the beginning of January, one of my favorite meetings we had is show and shell, where people will actually bring a turtle or a tortoise.
I like that. Catchy.
Show off their animal and talk to the group a little, give them a little history on the species and how they got that particular individual, and that's kind of fun.
What are some of the coolest show and shell animals that people have brought that you remember?
There is a sulcata, big, I don't even know, 50, 60 pound sulcata that people bring in. Some, you know, full grown redfoots. For myself, I brought in some Chinese box turtles, the flavomarginatas, and I had some yearlings and I had some adults, and so I brought those in and was showing everybody the difference between an adult and a yearling, and so that was kind of fun.
Very cool.
Nice.
Michael has this to say about the group. They're very welcoming. Probably one of the secrets of their success is that they're welcoming. Folks from any state can be a member and hop on and listen to most meetings via Zoom.
It's good to know.
Join Matt's.
Yeah.
Where are the meetings? Is there headquarters? Is it in the Baltimore area?
It is. The bulk of the members are in Maryland, so it's kind of focused around the Baltimore area. But we also have members in Virginia, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. Now that, you know, Sandy's out in New Mexico, she's still a member, so we've got her out there. I think there's somebody in California, and I think we've had people from Florida that are members that tune into our meetings. And so we do have typically, if we're doing an in-person meeting, it's in the southern suburbs of Baltimore. There's the Banneker Center down there. Usually has some rooms, but you know, all that came to end with COVID. You know, so it was either go virtual or don't go at all. So we kind of jumped on and got with it and started doing Zoom meetings. And then once the threat of COVID had kind of, you know, cooled down a little bit, then we started doing hybrid meetings. So now we have, you can come in person if you want and, you know, shake everybody's hand. Or if you want to, you know, if you're far away, it's long drive, bad weather, you don't want to be out late at night or whatever, you know, you can tune in from home, which is nice option.
Awesome. Well, Phil, we've got a question from a Ryback fan about Florida box turtles. What food can I give my baby Florida box turtles to help them grow faster? Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. They're about the size of a quarter, and I've had them for about 4 to 5 months. Is that too small?
That's kind of small, I think. Yeah, size of a quarter at 4 or 5 months.
Yeah,
maybe a little bigger than that. If it was me, I mean, I would do earthworms. You know, if you can't find small earthworms, you know, get yourself a pair of scissors and a big earthworm, cut it into short little sections that a baby box turtle can handle. You can also use bloodworms. You can get those, you know, at the pet store in the frozen section of the pet store, frozen bloodworms and frozen beef heart. That works good too. One of my favorite things, and it's really easy. It's so simple, is the omega-1 turtle pellets. Because they're stinky, man. They smell like fish and shrimp, and you plop some of those in there and let them soak in some water, and the turtles smell that stuff. They like it.
So Sam said the ZooMed aquatic turtle diet would work for them as well. Yes, but the omega-1, in my opinion, is a superior hatchling formula. I honestly, I think pellets are probably the best thing you can possibly get hatchlings on to get them to grow faster. And if that means mixing it with earthworms or however you got to do it, then yeah. But yeah, the omega-1 is what I was going to say as well.
Dan says just do the baby bird method. I don't know exactly what that means, but is he talking about like
you chew the worm up and then you spit it into your? You guys don't do that?
Okay.
Am I the only one that? I mean, Dan and I may be the only ones that do that. You guys don't love your turtles.
That's hardcore turtle keeping right there. Oh, that is funny. So, Phil, let me ask you this. You've been keeping box turtles, lots of different types, for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Lately, it seems like I don't know, I'm going to call it a fad, to raise box turtles in water or in an aquatic setup. Is that something you use to grow a healthy baby box turtle?
I do that. I'm using that method right now. I've got a group of 5 hatchlings that are only like a month or 2 old, and I'm using shallow water method, just enough water that their feet are wet, nothing they have to swim through. They don't have to struggle to get their head out of the water or anything. And I do keep the container closed, so the humidity is it's super high. I mean, it's got to be, once I close the lid and some of that water starts to evaporate a little bit, it's got to be close to 100% humidity.
Oh yeah, it's 100. Yeah.
And
now how does that compare to what you've done in the past, or have you done this for a long time?
I've been using the water method with young hatchling and even yearling turtles for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. I've also used the closed chamber method with box turtle babies, mm-hmm. Where you have them in a container that is closed off to the outside air so that you can keep the humidity really, really high. Mm-hmm. And the difference between using the water method or the closed chamber method versus keeping them in a container that's open to the room air is night and day. Like I've raised a couple of box turtles in a container that was not closed. It was not water. It was just like a damp coconut core kind of stuff. Yeah. And their mm-hmm. shells don't come out as good as they do in a closed chamber or in water.
Yeah.
I find the water method just easiest to keep clean. I mean, it's easy to do water changes.
Yeah.
They're always hydrated. That's the way I would recommend anyone doing it. Cameron brought up another good point about the temperature may be too low. So, Ryback, if you want to raise the temp up, depending on how low it is, that may be a good idea as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Ryback, he's saying that he has his set up in a tub with turtle-safe topsoil with some sphagnum moss, and I missed their enclosure. Ryback, tell us if you have a lid on the enclosure or if it's just open top. But Phil, what do you recommend Ryback do to set up his little babies that aren't growing?
It depends on the size, the age of the turtles. But
these are the 20.
These are little quarter-sized ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What I do with turtles that are that small is I get a small plastic shoe storage bin, and I get some plastic plants that are used for like aquariums, and I'll chop a piece of plastic plant, something that's enough that the turtle can hide under it and feel like nobody can see it. And then I'll put a little bit of water just so their feet are wet. They're not swimming. They're not, struggling to keep their head above water. And they've got a little, the way those plastic containers are made, they've got kind of like a little groove cut into them, like a reservoir. So the water will be deepest in that area. And then in the center of the container, it's a little more elevated. And so if you only put enough water in there to fill that reservoir and make it start to come up towards that raised area, there will be a little dry area right in the middle of the container. So if the turtle doesn't want to be in the water, it wants to dry out a little bit, there is a spot there. And I've also seen them decide, for whatever reason, they don't want to be in the water. They will climb up on top of the plastic plants and just kind of hang out. Now, I'm doing that in a turtle room. So I'm not worried about heat lamps. The temperature in my turtle room is, it's like 82, 83 degrees during the day. It's 72, 70 degrees at night, somewhere in that range. So the turtles are in a good temperature range, and so I can do that closed container, that little shoebox with a lid on top of it, keep the humidity really high, and the temperatures is also right for the turtle.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Actually, give me a sec. I'll show you a method. I've got one set up ready to go.
Yeah, he's going. And while I asked you that, I'm really curious. You mentioned Chinese box turtles, or marginata. How do they compare in care, personality, diet to the North American box turtles?
They're very similar to our North American box turtles. I generally keep them just a little bit warmer than I do a North American box turtle, especially in the wintertime. I don't let them get down to the low temperatures that I would, say, an Eastern box turtle. Personality, man, they're crazy. Those Chinese box turtle, when they're hungry, they you come walking up to them and they're like struggling to see who can be the first to get closest to you. And then as soon as their belly is full, then they're done. They don't want to have anything to do with you, and they're stumbling over each other to get away from you.
Very cool. What do you got, Matthew?
So, one method, of course, I just spilled water off my leg, but just a tub like this, that's just New Zealand sphagnum moss, and it's saturated. I mean, you can wring it out.
Yeah.
And I found that works really well. If you're worried about them being fully aquatic for drowning and stuff like that, that is what I'll do. If I've got some that are bad swimmers. Could you see it?
I'm just going to make it. There you go. You got extra big. So that's for all your box turtles? Is that how you do it for everyone?
Yep. I'll generally, not always. Luteola and Ornata, I'll generally do like that. Florida, Gulf Coast, Triungus, Carolina, I generally go full aquatic with those. I mean, full aquatic being an inch, maybe tops, once they get a little bit of size on them.
Cool. What about the winter, Phil? Are you keeping these temperate box turtles outside? Are they hibernating outside, or what are your setups like?
Well, I've got a variety of things that I'm doing right now. I have some, of course, my hatchlings, yearlings. I like to keep them inside for 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years to get some growth on them, get some size on them. But once they start to get to the size and age where they're kind of approaching breeding size and age, I like to let them have a cool down in the winter, kind of make that hormonal change that is natural for them when they're outside in the wild. So I do a couple of things. I do have a basement, and I've got a nice cold concrete slab floor in a backside room of the house that's closed off. It doesn't have any heat ducts, or it's just whatever comes through the concrete walls and the concrete floor. So that room usually, if it ever gets cold, here in Virginia, I don't know what it's like where you are and where we are in Virginia this year. We haven't had winter yet. I mean, it just hasn't gotten cold. Yeah, now we're supposed to have this polar, vortex thing come down next week, where we're going to have some teens overnight and single digits overnight. So we may get some cold weather. But right now, in that room in my basement, the floor is 56 degrees, and that's not really cold enough. I want my North American box turtles colder than that during the winter time. But hopefully, like I said, we get this, this winter blast coming through with all this cold air that may help bring the temperature down. And if not, I can crack a window and let a little bit of cold air in.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's nice that you have a window there.
Yeah.
That helps.
Anything else that we should know about your work with box turtles before we talk about some other species?
About box turtles. Okay, well, I got started off with the North American species, and especially eastern box turtles. But because I live in their native range, I can't have a lot of those. We used to be able to have 5 per person, and if you have a house full of people, you can have a lot of box turtles. But they recently changed the law here, and they're limiting it to 1 per household. Now, what was nice is they did grandfather. They gave us a grandfather clause on that if you already had 5 native turtles per person, that you could take pictures, register them with the state, and keep them. So I've never been at a point where I really wanted to breed eastern box turtles. I just wasn't, I wanted to, but I wasn't in a position where I could because I'd go over the limit. So I've never really tried to breed the easterns. And so when I started working with some of the other non-native species for here in the state that I live in, that was kind of the first chance I got to try to produce some hatchlings, and I did that with 3 toads, and did that with Gulf Coast, and I started thinking about, I was like, okay, well, I can do this with these native species, but one day, Fish and Wildlife, whether it's on the federal or whatever level, the laws could change, and they could say no more North American box turtles.
Sure.
So I thought, okay, well, what else can I do? So I started looking at Asia, and some of the problems that they're having there in Asia. I mean, their turtle populations of all kinds are just tanking. People are taking them out of the wild. They're putting them in the pet trade. They're eating them. They're trying to use them for folk medicine, and plus on top of that, land development, climate change. There's just a whole list of things that are causing problems. And I thought, okay, well, I could take what I'm doing here with these North American turtles, and let me try it with some of these Asian turtles, because I was thinking, hopefully, here in the United States, they won't become a problem where it's illegal to keep them or illegal to sell them or trade hands or whatever over state lines and all this stuff that we've been having, with different species here in the United States. So the Flavomarginata you mentioned earlier, Tom, that's how I got started with the Asian box turtles. Started off with some hatchlings that I bought, captive-born hatchlings. And so I'm actually still raising those up. I bought them 6 years ago, and they're still not adult size. They're still growing, but not adult size yet. And so I'm not breeding those. But then I got involved with Matt's and with the adoptions, program. And Katrina's, calling me and saying, "Hey, Phil, you interested in Chinese box turtle?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure. What do you got?" And she's like, "Well, there's one in Virginia, and it's up for the people want to surrender it. I guess there was a divorce or something, and nobody wanted the turtle, and so I drive out and pick up the turtle, and I'm like, wow, this is a really nice male Chinese box turtle." And few surrenders after that. Now I've got a small group of adult Chinese box turtles. I even picked up some at the local animal shelter. Those are actually the best one I've ever got, was at the animal shelter. Somebody knew what they were doing when they raised that turtle, because the Chinese box are notorious. If you don't raise them aquatic when they're really young, and you don't keep them really humid as they're growing, their shells become really deformed and they just look crazy.
Yeah, but Cameron has one that I sent him. He calls it his pancake Flavo.
Yep.
Our friend Mikey Ben, who's more of a chameleon guy, says, "Would anyone say box turtles are the best pet turtle? Semi-aquatic are wonderful, but not for most people wanting a turtle." So, boy, that's a complicated question. What do you think, Phil?
I'll say yeah.
You say that they are a good pet turtle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't do a lot of aquatics just because of the water. The water changes, the filtration. Box turtles are kind of my first love, and I've kind of stuck with the terrestrial turtles. Now, I did recently break into the aquatic box turtle territory, Coahuila. I was fortunate enough to have some of those gifted to me through the TTPG's
CPP.
Yeah, that was awesome.
TTPGCC.
It was awesome. We had some people here in the United States who are having great success breeding them, and they're like, "Hey, we want to spread these around to other states because, if you don't know, they're listed on the United States Endangered Species Act, so they can't be sold across state lines."
They're from Mexico, right?
They are from Mexico, the middle of the desert in Mexico.
Yep.
So tell us why you have an aquatic box turtle that lives in the middle of the desert.
Well, they come from an environment of spring-fed springs that are coming up out of the ground, and they're creating these little pools and swamps, and the surrounding area. I mean, there's just, what is it, Matt? A few square miles of
it's not big at all.
Where these ponds are.
Trying to remember the name of it. Yeah, I mean, it's a tiny little oasis in the middle of nowhere,
surrounded by desert. And the landowners around this area they're using the water like people do everywhere. They're using it for their agriculture. They're using it for their homes and using it for their livestock. And so they're pulling water out of the ground. And so these little pools of water in the middle of the desert keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Unless Mexico changes some of their laws about landowner rights as far as water goes. I don't see how this species will be around in another decade or two.
Well, so I can't remember which organization. Could be the TC, could be TSA, but somebody's purchased land down there. Obviously, TC has the Bolson Tortoise Project, but they've also been purchasing. Someone in the comment may know.
TC is the Turtle Conservancy. And Chris Lekowitz has joined us. Chris,
hey,
welcome
Chris.
From Sanibel Island. He says, Cuatro Cienagas.
That's it. Thank you, Chris.
Chris. I still not gonna try to pronounce it.
I mean, that's quite a name, and I wonder what that means in Spanish. It's gotta mean something. So, TSA is getting
TC.
land.
TSA.
TSA is the Turtle Survival Alliance. TC is the Turtle Conservancy. TTPG is the Turtle and Tortoise Preservation Group, and CPP is the Chilean Conservation Program.
There will be a quiz.
Program.
There will be a quiz on this later, guys.
We have a lot of newbies, but we love acronyms in the Turtle and Tortoise world.
And there were no vowels in any of those.
TSA.
Yeah.
TSA.
Has a vowel.
I was going to say, Matt's has a vowel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt's does. And it's catchy. It's a great name.
I'm gonna make a parody rap of turtle organization acronyms.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be awesome.
Maybe we can get Eric Good to produce it.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
He's great
There you go.
at producing things that people watch. So, Eric Good is a turtle guy, runs the Turtle Conservancy, and famous for Tiger King. If you don't know, for some of our newer people. So, very cool. Well, what other species would you like to talk about? Do you want to transition into tortoises? Do you have any aquatic turtles?
Do you have any other Asian box turtles?
Ooh,
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay, yes, do tell if you're willing to share, or feel free to talk about those or any other turtle or tortoise.
Yeah, my next hopefully big project, hopefully successful project is with Cora Mahati Opsti. Actually, I think I mispronounced it. It's not Mahati. I was reading somewhere.
As I would say.
Yeah, well, I was reading somewhere that it was named after a French environmentalist, and they were saying that the way the French would pronounce it was something like Mushati, like that.
So
Mushati, you pig. There's got to be an insult in there if it's French. You idiot.
This is a particularly I'm particularly interested in the species. Of course, I know it as Pixidia or or whatever. But I worked with a pair a long time ago. But how the French, Based on my research, the French pronounce this guy's name Mohu. So
Mohu?
Mohu.
yes, and so Mohui might actually be, I don't know, but
So the
that's
T is silent, like LaRue?
yeah, because yeah.
Okay. I see now.
Mohu.
Mahui.
That's
gonna screw me
that's
up.
how I'm gonna say it. But tell us about this species, the keeled box turtle. If you just watched the Garden State Tortoise episode, Chris Leone just found a keeled box turtle in a lady's basement somewhere in the east.
Oh,
Super
really?
cool
I haven't
species.
seen that yet.
That was the nominate. Yeah, that was the nominate Mahui.
Yeah, and so they're two subspecies. They're from Vietnam and southern China. They used to be in their own genus, so they're kind of different. Yeah, do tell us all about them.
Yeah, the nominate species is from Vietnam, southern China. I think they range all the way west to like Burma, is what some range maps show.
Yeah,
the Obsti subspecies is more of the mountains of southern Vietnam. They have a much smaller range, although there has been some talk about that they may go over into some of the other Southeast Asian countries, but traditionally it's believed they were just the mountains of southern Vietnam. And I after I got started with the Flava marginatas, I had opportunity. I made a friend, and he's like, "Hey, I've got these Obsies. Are you interested?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm interested." So I ended up getting some hatchlings from him, like 3 different years in a row.
Here, let me.
So the nominate
we'll
species
highlight that.
Orange.
Let's see. How do I do that?
Yeah, the nominate species goes all the way over to mine more, but now I can't see it.
That's perfect, Matt. That's perfect, Matt. Right there.
Yep. Yellow is Obsti, and
yep.
Interesting. I didn't realize it went so far west. That's cool. All the way to India, really.
Yeah.
Bangladesh. Kanesh, whatever. Okay. So you have some.
I have some. Yeah. I've got adults? I got them as captive bred and born hatchlings, and I have a male now that's going on 8 years old.
Nice.
A couple of females that are going on 7, and 2 more females that are going on 6. So I'm thinking that the 8-year-old male, he's definitely ready. He's a dog. If I have the females anywhere near him, he makes a beeline. I mean, he will come up out of a plastic storage container and end up in one of the female storage containers while I'm soaking them. And so he's definitely ready. He's showed his equipment while he's soaking in the water, and
yeah.
But
why are always the males ready before the females?
Hey, it ain't.
I don't know.
It ain't in turtles only.
Yeah. It's just interesting. That's so cool.
I hope you have success with them soon. I'm raising up some right now as well. Just 2, but they're definitely ones that I really enjoy. I just call them, they're big Spangler eye, really. Or Spangler.
They really kind of are. Yeah.
Do you think they're? I need to really look into the taxonomy, but I mean, they look like a Geomida.
Yeah,
it looks like a hybrid almost. That's why they used to be in their own genus. They don't look like any other species of Cora, in my opinion. I mean, do they? What's their closest Cora relative? I don't know. We could look that up, but
I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows in the chat? What's the closest Cora relative to what I like to call Vixidia? What? So, are they aquatic at all, or do you have them in a completely terrestrial setup?
I have them in kind of a hybrid situation where they have the ability to sit in the water whenever they want, or they can get up on some moist substrate and dig into some peat moss and sphagnum moss and coconut coir and that kind of stuff. And they tend to kind of do a little of both. They really like sitting in the water, especially during breeding season. I find them in the water a lot, which I'm not haven't actively bred mine yet, but they do like to sit in the water a lot. And you're right, Matt. I mean, or no, I think it was Tom said they're kind of like a leaf turtle. They remind me because I also have some Spengleri, and it's like the Spengleri. It's just like little miniature versions of the Obsti when you look at them. Color, markings, the shell, the little sharp tips on the back of the shell.
Prey drive's not quite as high, but it's
not
pretty
quite
high.
Yeah, oh yeah. The food comes in and they're on it.
Yeah,
just like the Spengleri are.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Like, how are they a Cora? I mean, I need to research this more.
Genetics, Tom. Genetics.
No, but I'm sure there's some anatomy stuff, but
they close up like a box. Okay. Spengleri don't.
They don't.
No.
I've seen one in Ralph's house, but that's about it. And that was the most boring Spengleri I've ever seen in my life. Sorry, Ralph. It wasn't on that day.
Yeah.
He knew it. Ralph's like, I don't know. It's just kind of sitting there right now.
Yeah, if they're really well fed sometimes. Although last night, so I've got one that I'm raising up that Betsy Meeker hatched, and I can't get it on pellets to save my life. It's been the hardest I've ever had as far as getting a hatchling on it. Last night to date, 11 waxworms.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it kept begging. Well, it hadn't eaten in a couple of days because it was being a pain in the butt and not eating its pellets. So I just let it eat last night, and it just kept going. They're just so much fun.
Are they? Do you keep them inside year round?
I do.
No, Phil. Back to the Pixidia.
Yes, I do keep them indoors. Definitely during the winter. They can't take our cold winters. I keep them in my basement. I try to not let them get below like 55 in the wintertime.
Now, I'm not sure which subspecies it is, but another person in Indiana keeps Pixidia.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks a lot about getting the brumation right for them. Yours are from further south. Do they still need a brumation period, do you think?
I think they do need a brumation period. I think most turtles, unless they come from the tropics, they need some sort of cooling period, even if it's just very small, because there are some hormone changes that happen as a result of that cooling. They cool down totally. once they start warming back up. Testosterone levels in both genders increases. The males, they're producing more sperm. The females they get a testosterone burst that creates, I was just reading about this a couple weeks ago, it helps create the follicles that make the eggs, I believe is the process. So yeah, I am cooling them this year, the older Obsti, because I want to try in the spring when temperatures start to warm up. I want to try to introduce the male to the two older female. Let's see what happens. Yeah, fingers crossed.
The pair that we got, I think they came from Gladesherp. It was probably around the year 2000, and my college professor Sam Marshall at the field station got a pair, and the female, her nuchal area was just trashed. And
the males
seems like the males bite them there, and I mean this thing it's shell rot, and I went in and debrided the whole wound and cleaned that all up, and 2 months later it laid 2 eggs. I think I brought those eggs, plopped them in a chicken incubator. Nothing really happened, but it's a dream species. I'll probably never work with them because I have my hingebacks and it's hard for me to really add much more, but really cool turtle, and I'm glad you're working with it.
I have a question for you, Phil, on your Asian species of box turtle. I think everyone that has raised them or has seen them, in person, they can be very aggressive when housed as a group as hatchlings. They'll nip each other's tails. They'll nip each other's feet. What do you do to help prevent that? And do you have problems with it? Like, do you find that you've got nip tails after a while, or do you generally have good luck with that?
No, I've had terrible trouble with that. The Flavomarginata were my first Asian species, and they tore each other apart. I mean, it was just terrible. I had one young male that I was keeping with 3 females. I mean, I'm talking about 2 years old, like year and a half, 2 years old.
So you'd think it would be okay.
And the females ate the male's tail down to his vent, all the way down to his vent.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
But the unusual and really cool thing is, his tail grew back. I didn't know they would do that. I did not know they would do that. His tail has grown back. It's got a little kink right down at the tip of his tail, but from the cloaca all the way back to the kink, everything looks good.
Huh.
That's crazy. That's
so
really cool.
Now I keep all my Asian species separately.
Yeah.
Individually.
So many people have done that, have moved to that. I know Cameron's got all of his Beretti separated, which I think is a smart way to do it. He's got some others that are still together, but he doesn't keep them as in bigger groups. I don't keep mine in as big groups. I don't have them all separated yet, but it's definitely moving that way.
Very cool. What else do you got, Matthew? Questions?
I wanted to move on to tortoises.
You want to go to tortoises now?
Let's do tortoises.
How are those Egyptians doing?
They're doing fantastic. Growing like weeds.
Yeah.
Egyptian tortoise.
Egyptian tortoise.
Yeah. Phil and I were able to. Small. Yeah. We were able to secure some right at the end of the buying period. A couple days. I don't even remember. Was it 2 or 3 days before?
2 weeks or something. It was less than 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, it was really close. Well, you got yours before.
Oh, that's true.
I shipped you yours, and then I had to wait because they didn't have all of them. So yeah, I had to wait. Mine was like 2 days. I think yours was like a week. So it was an interesting time. But they're awesome. And the ones that he got are gorgeous. They're really good looking Egyptians.
Yeah, I'm really excited to grow them out a little, let them get bigger, and see what I've got here. You know, do I have a male? Do I have 4 males?
Wow.
Yeah.
How do they compare to your expectations, Phil?
Oh, they exceeded all expectations. They're great little tortoises. Before I got them, I had read up on them, and I was reading like on Tortoise Forum. They were talking about, like, Will Espenshade was talking about how active they were, and they had like an agenda. They woke up every morning with an agenda, and they marched across the enclosure and did their thing. They looking for the food, looking for the hot spot, looking for the hide, and then do it all over again. And he's right. I wake up, and they're the first turtle enclosure that I go to every morning, and they're pacing back and forth, waiting for me to bring the food.
That's cool.
Very fun.
They definitely like their routine, I think.
Okay. Had a very small black and yellow tortoise in the picture you sent.
Oh, okay.
Tell us about that one.
The spider tortoises.
Excellent. How long have you been working with those?
I guess I'm going on 2.5, 3 years since I got my first hatchlings. You know.
Fantastic.
I've bought a couple 1 year, and the next year I bought a couple more, and you know, kind of.
You can only afford so many at a time.
Diversified.
Well, there's only so many produced. You know, it's hard to find. You know, it's not like anyone's going to go out and buy 5 at a time.
Right. And trying to diversify my genetic lines, so I'm trying to get a few hatchlings from several different breeders, so that 10 years from now, when they're adult breeding age, I'll have some unrelated adult.
It's so weird that such a small tortoise takes so long to grow to breeding age.
Yeah,
they do grow. I mean, I would say they grow well while they're eating, while they're active and eating.
Oh,
but every winter they go dormant. I mean, it's just it's crazy how they just switch off. They don't eat. They don't move. If you
Even
want,
as hatchlings, because mine are still pretty active.
Are they?
I'm keeping temps in the 80s, humidity in the 80s, and every day they're still pounding their food away.
That's interesting. Yeah, because mine, I've got two of each from two different breeders, and they all four act the same way. I've even tried keeping the lights on 24 hours a day to see what would happen.
Yeah,
they don't care.
Yeah,
they don't care. They're I guess about a week, 10 days ago, they shut down on me. They stopped eating.
Really?
They're buried down, and this is what they did last year. You know,
Okay.
they come back up. I think it was probably in March.
Okay. I'll keep watching. I've got one that's starting to slow down, and one of the ones that Ralph sent me is slowing down a bit. So the other two may start doing that anytime as well, and then I may be, out for a couple months until I can see them again. But so far, I'm enjoying it. I mean, they remind me a lot of. It's something about Madagascar. The tortoises that come there, they all stand up on their limbs and I mist them down, and they're like little radiateds. They're so cool.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about yours standing up when you had missed them, and mine weren't doing that at first, but they do it now. I'll mist them and
Isn't it awesome?
Up.
I love it.
Yeah.
They have such personality. Little grumpy men is what I call them, because they got their little frowny face, and so much fun.
Yeah, I think they're a little. I think they have a kind of a bad reputation for being pet rocks, for not doing.
I don't get that.
Mine do that at times, but then other times they're not so much like the Egyptians, but they do have a routine where they get up in the morning and they wander around, find some heat and look for some food, and then they're back down into the substrate again.
Planicatas would be nice.
That would
Texas planicata, that is a whole entirely different species from Madagascar that looks kind of similar to the spider tortoises. But even with high heat and humidity, they're just hiding out. I soak them every 3 days, and they will casually grab a bite to eat, then go right back to burrowing. I mean, that's got to be a little disconcerting when they start to do that. So how do you know the tortoise is healthy and doing, kind of undergoing a healthy rumination as opposed to just being sick and not eating?
I do regular health checks. So even though they've dug themselves down and they don't want to have anything to do with me, I'm like, no, we're gonna have a health check. Every 7 to 10 days or something. You're gonna get soaked, and I'm gonna look at you, and I'm gonna check your nares and your eyes, and kind of poke and prod and see if you respond to me. And so far, I haven't had any problems. I think they're fairly hardy animals.
Yeah. I would love to have them sometime for work. We have radiated tortoises, and we have a whole Madagascar biome that replicates the habitat of radiated tortoises and spider tortoises. So I hope we can get some at work someday to display, and it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
My left eye is watering like heck. It's too dry, so that's why I'm rubbing my eye. Matthew, keep going.
So this past week, you had told me about a tortoise that you're kind of falling in love with. You want to tell people about that one?
Yeah, sure. Another phone call from Katrina Smith. Hey,
is that where you got it? Nice.
Yeah, she says, "Are you interested in adopting or fostering a Russian tortoise?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "It's they're close to you in Northern Virginia." I said, "Okay, give me their information." And so I hooked up. Excuse me, I hooked up with this young man. He's currently 26, and he's had this Russian tortoise since he was 5 years old. When he got it, the tortoise was 17 centimeters in SCL.
That's big.
And now it's 17 centimeters.
Oh.
What
did it start as? 17.
7 centimeters.
7 centimeters.
Oh, I thought you said 17 too.
Yeah. Might have.
Yeah.
No, 7.
Started at 7.
Gotcha. 7 to 17.
More than double.
Nice.
Yeah, and he did fantastic job. And it's like, we were talking before the show officially started about, I asked him, because I always ask when I pick up animals, I'm like, okay, so what have you been feeding it, and how have you been keeping it, just so I know, and what to look for. And he's like, yeah, I've been feeding it romaine lettuce and iceberg lettuce and papaya. And I was like, a papaya
just blows my mind. And it's really healthy, though, right?
And it's really healthy. The shell is beautiful. I mean, I don't. You know better than I do.
Papaya has a very good calcium to phosphorus ratio. I do. It's like one of the better fruits to feed your animals.
Do Russians pyramid, Matt?
They will, absolutely. I think pretty much anything besides like mountain tortoises will pyramid. I don't see them doing it much. But yeah, I've seen some bad Russians. Not as bad as.
There has to be something different about their physiology. They just don't pyramid like other tortoises.
Yeah, you'll see it more in blocks. Like a radiated or a leopard that really pyramids, you're going to get that obvious pyramid shape. But with the Russians, it's almost like a block. You'll see in the scoot, the seams of the scoots will be really, really deep and pitted, but you won't have that pyramid shape. They'll be really blocky. And then you will see the top of the carapace cave in, sink in sometimes as well. But two of the subspecies are pretty flat as it is. So, whether that's genetic or whether that's metabolic bone disease, you'd have to get it checked out by a vet.
Well, this particular tortoise,
Russians are built different.
Looked fantastic. He did a fantastic job. I kept telling him over, his mom actually was there with him. I met him in this high school parking lot, and he pulls up next to me, and we wave at each other and get out, and another car pulls up next to his, and this woman gets out and starts walking over to him like, what is this? What's going on? His mom wanted to say goodbye to the tortoise, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But I kept telling him, I was like, man, you've done a really fantastic job. The way that this tortoise looks, the shell growth, the skin.
It was easy to ID the subspecies. It was real easy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for a tortoise that's been here 21 years, you generally are going to see some messed up growth.
Yeah.
That one looked great.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm falling in love with this tortoise. I've had it, just for a few days and just a little bit of interaction with it. And I don't know, I was telling you earlier, it's like this tortoise is singing a siren song. It's like, I just can't resist it. So I may have to tell Katrina, hey, if you don't have anybody promise this tortoise already, maybe it'll just stay here.
Well, I'll tell her. I already said I'd send you some females.
Yeah, or males.
Males. Yeah. I'm sorry, male.
Female.
I've got a spare male.
Okay.
Matthew, why are there so many males compared to females? Like every pet store I go in, I pick them up, and they're all males, like 10.
They're more active. They're far more active. As far as the pet trade, the few females that do come in are usually poached closer to the port or the first distributor that gets them. The males are just a lot more active. So, if they're the ones that are up around trying to find a female, those are the ones that are going to get poached first.
Yeah.
So
those cameras decided to stop focusing on him.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Got a nice fire in the background.
I do.
Oh, so nice.
Nice.
I need a fireplace in this room.
It's fabulous. It keeps this room about 8 degrees warmer than the rest of the house.
That's fantastic. Patrick says, which subspecies is it?
Kunsinovi.
Gesundheit.
Yes. And we have a whole episode with Matthew. We go through all the different subspecies. So if you are except the extirpated. If you are interested in Russian tortoise subspecies, check out that video. Oh, that was a good one. So
yeah.
Well, guys, we are closing in on an hour and 5 minutes. Phil, is there any other species that you're working on that you'd like to share with us?
Sure. Well, I mean, there's so many.
Yeah. Well, and we're just gonna have you back up.
Yeah.
So, what another additional project that you're proud of or
I'm working on raising up a group of pancake tortoises.
Ah,
Nice.
love them.
Yeah,
And
they're fantastic.
they're so fun. They're so different.
Yeah.
Their shells are so soft and pliable, and they're so flat. And they have pretty neat personalities too.
They're like little Spider-Man tortoises.
Oh, big climbers. Big climbers.
Yeah.
There's now every time we talk about pancake tortoises, we have to talk about my Let's Talk Turtles friend Ryan Dumas, who says they have a certain smell or odor
They do.
associated with them, and some people say yes, and other people say I have no idea what you're talking about. So, Phil Simpson, what is your experience with the odor that pancake tortoises produce?
I will say that when they're in their enclosure, I don't really notice any odor. But when I soak them and they relieve themselves, there's a really earthy, grassy kind of smell that comes out of there.
Wait, yours doesn't. Mine smells like maple syrup.
Maple syrup? Tom, I think Matthew's pulling my leg.
Yeah.
No, I feed them. I chew the worms up and feed the box turtles, and my pancake tortoises smell like maple syrup.
You feed them fenugreek, probably, Matthew. That stuff smells like
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely.
Go ahead.
It's definitely something that they eat. It's every time they defecate, it's that smell. It's unique to them. No matter what you feed them,
right?
Their poop still smells that way.
Yeah.
So, Michael,
it doesn't matter if it's lettuce or Missouri or whatever. Yeah, they still smell the same.
Yep.
Okay, gentlemen, I think that's a wrap. Phil, I thank you for joining us on short notice, and I want to throw it out there. If anyone would like to come on and talk turtles, or do an out of the shell episode with another group, let us know. We've done one out of the shell that was Monkey Tail Skinks with Will Espenshade. We're gonna stick to turtles and tortoises, but occasionally we can talk about some other taxa. And I join sometimes Bill Strand and my buddy Sean on Wednesday nights, so we're getting some chameleon bleed over. That's kind of cool. But Phil, you get the last word. Is there anything else that you would like people to know about the turtles that we talked about tonight, or turtle keeping in general? What are your parting words for us?
I would like to plug animal shelters and turtle and tortoise societies again as a source for finding some amazing animals. You don't always have to spend a lot of money and have a turtle ship. I mean, although our society does ship, but a lot of times you can just find them nearby in your community. And I've gotten some great animals from my local animal shelter, and I've just plugged them again to keep your eye out. Look at petfinder.com, where you can find listings for all kinds of different animals, including tortoises and turtles. And just keep your eye out; they come around.
Yeah, for sure. And I collect. I was trying to assemble a group of these Western hingeback tortoises, and Katrina, that just one popped up. It was with a vet. It was amazing. So
yeah, I haven't heard that story. I can't believe you got a hinge pack from Matt's.
Oh yeah, a Western hingeback. One of the survivors imported before the ban in 2000. So it's been in as a pet for 24 years. And
how old is it Blondie or Brownie that you got from
Brownie
Cameron?
I got, right? Oh no, that's Heidi.
Heidi. How old is Heidi?
Old.
Yeah, I thought she was an original. She looked it.
Oh yeah, they all are. I mean, anything that's not captive bred is an original.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. So which one is the Western, Tom? Is that Nagui?
Nagui.
Yeah, and that is what we all called bells in the 90s. In the 80s, that were the cheap tortoise bells hingeback. In 2012, Carolyn Kindler did a molecular taxonomy of the whole genus, and she elevated the western hingeback, which has 4 toenails on its front feet and is from West Africa, to a full species. So that's when it became Conyxis nogui and not Conyxis belliana nogui. But they were banned. So Conyxis belliana was banned to import into the country, along with leopard tortoises and sulcatas, in the year 2000. So none have come in since then. I'm just waiting for an importer to try to bring some in now that they've been elevated. But here's the saving grace, because honestly, I don't want them to be imported. CITES has not updated their nomenclature, so they lump Conyxis zambensis and Conyxis nogui into Conyxis belliana. Conyxis belliana. So, as a country, you can only export Conyxis belliana, Conyxis speckii. Those are the 2 real options that are legal, and that's why these belliana are coming in as speckii.
So, are you saying the ones that Underground Reptile has aren't real belliana?
They are real belliana.
They are?
They're not speaks.
I thought the belliana was the one that they were mislabeling. They also claimed it was zambensis.
They're calling it speaks.
Okay, I had it mixed up.
These eastern tortoises from Kenya that are true belliana, they fit that name. They're importing the small ones and putting the speaks label on the paperwork. And the adults, which as they grow, they first start putting on very dark color on the plastron, but once they get to about 4 inches,
they start to pop.
They start putting lighter coloration, and so the adults look very different than the 4-year-old animals or the 4-inch animals. So they're calling the adults a whole different species and importing those Conyxis zambensis, and the 4-inch animals they're importing as Conyxis speckii. They're both Conyxis belliana. It's big and little Conyxis belliana that they're calling the big zambensis and the small speaks.
That's
Fish
crazy.
and Wildlife Service is going along with it, but law's not perfect. So,
jeez.
Phil, thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil.
Everyone go to Pet Finder right now and find a great turtle or tortoise to adopt, and check out Matt's. They're on there. That's where all of their animals are, and you can find more information. They have also a great website. So
now that I know you can join Matt's without living there or living in the East Coast, I'm going to do it. Katrina's brilliant. She's a very, very intelligent keeper. I respect the heck out of her.
Absolutely.
And then Sandy's amazing. I love Sandy to death. So, now that I know I can join, I'll join.
Great.
Fantastic.
Love to have you, Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
You are
Thanks
welcome.
for coming.
Gentlemen, why do we do this? We do it
for the turtles.
For the turtles.
So, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.